Good evening. My name is Chester Troyer, and I live 2 miles north and south of here on a farm. First off, I wonder if you like my hat.
Was it Chester's?
It was Chester's. I might give you a little background on my ancestors and where he came from. His grandfather came from Switzerland. 18 years old, he moved to the United States to Holmes County, Ohio, which was fine. And he was an Amishman. And he joined the church. And then he met a young lady, and he got married. The problem was she was not Amish. The bishop kicked him out of the church, and they shunned him. They said, anytime you meet him on the street, turn around, don't talk to him. Well, he got tired of that, so he moved to Putnam, Ohio. And his father had, I think, I'm not sure, 10 kids, thank you. His father was a farmer. Things was pretty slim. He had trouble making a living. And he raised onions. He knew a gentleman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he sold him a carload of onions. And about a week later, he got a letter from the man that says, the onions didn't make me enough money to pay the freight. Well, my father wrote back and said, I'm sorry, I do not have any money, but I'll send you a carload of onions. So it was pretty slim pickings. My father, Dave, had 2 brothers, and they moved to Indiana. Well, Dave took a trip, and he come and visited his 2 brothers. And they lived down on the Mississippi, on Indian ground. Well, he saw how good a corn they raised there, and he was impressed with the corn. So he packed up his wife and kids in a wagon and a cow, and he moved to LaFontaine, Indiana, down on the Mississippi. Now, why did he move there? The Miami Indians, Meshinga Macy, was the chief of the Miami Indians. And he asked his great white father if he would tell him where would be the best place to set up camp. Well, it come back, the great white father said, right there at the Josena Creek and the Mississauga River. Because if you have a storm, the way the river lies, you will never have a terrible storm in LaFontaine. And to my knowledge, there's never been a tornado in LaFontaine. So maybe the Indians knew what they was talking about. Well, I as a kid wasn't big enough to follow a plow, but when they would shuck the corn, they would put it in a crib, and I would separate it. I would go in that crib day after day, and I would throw out the nubbins and the bad ears and the bad germ. And then my father would put the good ear in a crib, and they looked so nice. He always had them shucked and took the shucks off and the silk off. And the farmers would come around and want to buy that corn for seed, which was pretty good. But the only problem was the ground at Putnam was not very good. So he moved to LaFontaine, as I said, and he got interested in seed corn. He studied seed corn and studied it, and he decided to do some showing with his seed corn. He sent 10 ears to Omaha, Nebraska, to a big show. He didn't get a go, but he got a letter that he got 6th place out of 50,000 entries. Now, he told his wife, he says, now, if I can get 6 out of 50,000, I can do better than that. So he worked and worked and worked, and he ended up, he was 4 times World Corn King. He had 10 ears, and every one of them, he won 4 times. And then he won once World Corn King with a peck of corn, shelled corn. If you can see this, this is the type of corn that he raised. Now, if you see this, this is his competitor's corn. I don't know whether this is Pioneer or DeKalb or what. After I got 16 years old, I went to college at Normal College, which was here in Marion. I taught school for 2 years. I took science classes, and then I was principal for 3 years at Fountain. And he married his wife, Cleo Hamilton. He lived there for 52 years. He decided to raise corn the same place that the Miami Squaw women raised corn for their families. Now he thought the open pollinated corn, which that's what we had at that time, he thought it was making 40 bushels the acre. Now with the genetics and the chemistry and everything, he thought that would do better. So him and another man got together and they produced the hybrid corn. Now, open pollinated corn is a field of corn where it pollinates, it flows, it drops down and pollinates the silk, and the wind blows it. And a bad ear corn can pollinate a good ear corn, and you still haven't got a good ear corn. So he developed a hybrid corn. Now, that is, he got male and female here. He planted the female corn, and then he planted several rows of male corn. And then he would go in there and detassel the female corn, so the male corn would pollinate all of it. In other words, the male corn was the top quality corn. And there he produced from 40 bushel to 85 bushel. And he did that with 10,000 kernels per acre. Now we plant 30, 35, 40,000 kernels per acre. Of course, a lot of people are raising 200, 250 bushel of corn. I'm showing my age here. I have to look at my notes. But back to the time when he showed his 10 ears of corn, there was another gentleman there that was showing against him, and I looked at those 10 ears and I said, something's not right here. And I looked down and I said, that ear of corn right there, you had that here last year. Some people will do anything to win. He started out with taking a 2x4 and cutting it in two, driving nails in it, and putting an ear of corn on each nail and hanging that up. And therefore that would dry and he'd make seed out of it. That was his best seed. He also raised gladolias, beautiful gladolias. And one time he had gladolias down by the next to the river and it flooded, ruined his gladolias. That was the end of the gladolias. He didn't raise any more gladolias. Okay, this is kind of the end of my story. If you have any questions, you can ask them. That doesn't mean I will or can answer them. If not, thank you.